Education. Today is Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Yes, Chairman.
Here.
Okay. First Vice Chair Barrows. Second Vice Chair Amore.
Present.
Representative Alzate. Representative Biah.
Present.
He's present.
Present.
Representative Caldwell. Representative Donovan. Representative Fenton-Fung.
Present.
Representative Giraldo.
Present.
Representative Kislak.
Present.
Representative Noret.
Here.
Representative Phillips.
Present.
Representative Ranglin Vassal. Representative Roberts.
Present.
Representative Shallcross Smith. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we have a quorum, Chairman.
Very good. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This afternoon, we are going to consider two bills that we have previously heard, House Bill 5028 and House Bill 58228. The first bill that we're going to consider is House Bill 5028 by Representative Newberry. And this act would require the implementation of a Civics Literacy Act for students between the 8th and 12th grade attending public schools and other schools managed and controlled by the state of Rhode Island, requiring the students to demonstrate proficiency in civics education, commencing with the graduating class of 2025 and all graduating classes thereafter. The testimony on this was very compelling, and the state of our democracy, I think, clearly demonstrates a need for a greater understanding of civics. Today there was an interesting article in the Providence Journal that talked about various courses relating to civics and the need for a greater understanding. And I think that if we reflect on the state that our democracy is in, the need for greater understanding of civics is very, very self-evident. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Representative Amore. I know you've worked on this for quite a while. Would you like to add a few comments? And
Thank you.
would certainly entertain a motion as well.
Thank you, Chairman McNamara. Representative Newberry and I and others, Representative Carson, Kislak, have worked with multiple stakeholders, Rhode Island College, civic education organizations across the country. And we think this is a model piece of legislation because it not only requires a curriculum in civics and government, it also requires active project-based participation by the students. So I'll make a motion for passage, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Amore
Second.
makes a motion for passage. That is second by Representative Phillips. Are there any questions?
Yes, so Mr. Chairman, I just have one clarifying question for Rep. Amore.
Please proceed, Representative Biah.
Yes, I'm in support of this bill. It is a good bill that we're enlightening our students now to learn about civic government and within our society today. However, my question is why 2025?
Thank you, Representative Biah. I appreciate the question. I think as we talked to the districts, they indicated that they would need time to readjust and prepare for this bill. In some cases, the curriculum is embedded in the middle school. In some cases, it's embedded in the high school, and they wanted to make sure that they had time enough to implement this so that they could have a signature course either semester or year-long, that would fit those needs. That was on the recommendation of the school districts.
Okay, because currently, I mean, currently, for me, in my, to have like civic, because freshmen across the board, freshmen automatically take civic in my building.
Yeah, that's
So it's
where it is in our
mandatory.
building too, Rep.
Yeah. So, you know, I was just looking at 2025 because I don't know how much money is said to include like the project base with the civic. That was one of my little concern. So but I think that we're going to probably miss this group of kids right now, like within the next 2 or 3 years span. And that was one of my concerns. But I think it is a great bill. I think we're just like the timing of the year of these group of kids that we have that we're kind of miss those kids. But
And you make a good point, and I think the other aspect there was that it was trying to be lined up with a 4-year span from original proposal. But you do make a good point, and you know, that is something that, as you say, many districts have already dealt with. For those districts that have not, that's a good point.
Yep. And Representative Biah, I think not every high school is as progressive when it comes to teaching about democracy as Alvarez High School. You're certainly a good role model for the rest of the high schools in the state, implementing that at this point in time. Are there any further questions or discussions? Yes, Representative Phillips.
Just a quick question. Chairman Amore, would it be better if we had, and I just heard your answer, that's what prompted the question, RIDE come up with the curriculum so it's even across the state instead of having each school district come up with the...
So there are current civics standards that exist, and they are being reworked as we speak through the direction of RIDE, but there's also a national standards base that is used. So yes, that curriculum will not be determined by the legislature. That curriculum is based on the standards that exist already, and as those standards are worked on through the process that's led by RIDE, with all parties involved, educators, administrators, those that are experts in the subject area, then that curriculum gets adjusted, and the standards for that curriculum are what is used in the classroom.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, a motion has been made and seconded. At this point, we'll take the roll call vote, please.
Chairman McNamara.
Yes.
First Vice Chair Barrows. Second Vice Chair Amore.
Yes.
Representative Alzate.
Yes.
Representative Biah.
yes.
Representative Caldwell. Representative Donovan. Representative Fenton-Fung.
Yes.
Representative Giraldo.
Yes.
Representative Kislak. Yes. Representative Noret.
Yes.
Representative Phillips.
Yes.
Representative Ranglin Vassal. Representative Roberts.
Yes.
Representative Shallcross Smith. Representative Caldwell, we're voting on House Bill 5028 for passage.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Unanimous?
set.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The next bill we're going to consider is 5828 by Representative Alzate, and it simply extends the reporting date of House resolution that is a special legislative commission to study and provide recommendations for encouraging more persons of color to enter the field of education. As we know, there's a huge disparity between the minority students in the state of Rhode Island and minority teachers, and this is something that Representative Alzate has been working on. And with that, Representative Alzate, would you like to add something? Or make a motion as well?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So, this legislation or this committee is something that we started it last year, and Chairman Amore is on this and helping me get more familiar with how important this is for our students, not just in one particular part of the state, but all of our state. And so, we created really great dialogue and really great conversation around this subject. And I just want to continue that so that we can come up with what I'd like to call a very juicy report, so that we can make sure that our schools and our teacher workforce is representative of our communities. So with that, I make a motion for passage.
Representative Alzate makes a motion for passage, second by Representative Amore. Is there any discussion? Could the clerk please take the roll?
Chairman McNamara.
Yes.
Representative Barrows. Second Vice Chair Amore.
Yes.
Representative Alzate.
Yes.
Representative Biah.
Yes.
Representative Caldwell.
Yes.
Representative Donovan. Representative Fenton-Fung.
Yes.
Representative Giraldo.
Yes.
Representative Kislak.
Yes.
Representative Noret.
Yes.
Representative Phillips.
Yes.
Representative Ranglin Vassal. Representative Sherry Roberts. Representative Shallcross Smith. We have 12 in favor, Chairman.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That passes and will be moved on to the calendar probably next week. The next order of business is I am going to make a motion to hold the remainder of the bills on our agenda for further study. This keeps those pieces of legislation alive within the bar of our committee so that when we hear suggestions or possible amendments from our witnesses, we can make those and move forward. So at this time, I am going to make a motion to hold House Bill 5491, 5605, 5839, 6118, and 6149. I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Second by Vice Chair Amore. All those in favor? Roll call. Sorry. Went back to the old days. All those in favor? Whoa.
Chairman McNamara.
Yes.
First Vice Chair Barrows. Second Vice Chair Amore.
Yes.
Representative Alzate.
Yes.
Representative Biah.
Yes.
Representative Caldwell.
Yes.
Representative Donovan. Representative Fenton-Fung.
Yes.
Representative Giraldo.
Yes.
Representative Kislak.
Yes.
Representative Noret.
Yes.
Representative Phillips. Yes. Representative Ranglin Vassal. Representative Roberts.
Yay.
Representative Shallcross Smith.
Okay.
We have 11 in favor, Chairman.
Thank you. Those bills will be held for further study. Ladies and gentlemen, the first bill that we're going to hear today is House Bill 5491, an act relating to education financial literacy by Representative Ackerman. Representative Ackerman, welcome, and please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, colleagues. I'm proud to be working with the General Treasurer on this bill. As a mother of two who are in college, I understand that our students face big financial decisions even before they graduate. Without being prepared, it will be difficult to avoid financial pitfalls, including payments of their student loans, credit card debt, and other types of obligations. Now is the time for Rhode Island to guarantee its public school students receive basic personal finance training before they graduate. Teaching these financial skills to students gives them more economic opportunity. For example, high credit scores, being able to pay bills, and manage debt more effectively. They can achieve a higher lifetime personal income as well. Finally, 38 states guarantee access to personal financial education in their public school curriculum. Rhode Island is the outlier here, and we have an opportunity today to change that. So I will let the General Treasurer answer any of your particular questions, if that's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Ackerman, do you want to just go on with the General Treasurer, then you both take questions? That's good. Yeah, okay. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce General Treasurer Seth Magaziner.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. I want to start by thanking you, Chairman McNamara, for your commitment to financial education. For those who are not aware, Chairman McNamara has been the lead sponsor of this same bill in previous years, and we're grateful for that leadership. He continues to be a co-sponsor this year and has been a longtime advocate of personal finance education. I want to thank Whip Ackerman for her commitment to financial education and her sponsorship of this bill. And she said it very well. All Rhode Island children deserve access to personal finance education. The research is clear that when students have access to financial education in the K through 12 level, it leads to better financial results later in life. There is a correlation between access to personal finance education and higher credit scores later in life, lower debt, lower likelihood of ever taking out a payday loan, amongst other outcomes. Despite the proven link between financial education and better financial outcomes later in life, Rhode Island is an outlier as one of only a handful of states left that does not guarantee access to personal finance education. This bill, which we have put in for a couple years now, would do a few things. It would require, starting in the 2022-23 school year, that all high schools offer at least an elective in personal finance education. And I'll note that most of Rhode Island's public high schools already do this, but there are a handful that don't. Then, beginning with the graduating class of 2024, students would be required to demonstrate a level of proficiency in personal finance in order to graduate. Now, we give the schools flexibility in determining how the students can demonstrate that proficiency. It can be by completing a class, or by taking a test, or by completing a project under the guidance of an educator. This class can be a standalone class. It can be embedded into another math or social studies class. So with the feedback that we've received from RIDE and from educators, we've really endeavored to allow this legislation to be as flexible as possible for the educators to implement as they best see fit. The other thing that this legislation would do is require RIDE to have a section on their website with a list of materials that teachers can use that would align to the standards, and with access to professional development and micro-credentialing programs for those teachers. I'm a former public school teacher myself. I taught 3rd and 4th grade public school. I did teach personal finance to my 4th graders. And I can tell you that students want this, teachers want it, people realize the importance of it. And as a former teacher, I'm very conscious of the fact that we should not and cannot just put mandates on educators without resources. So we do have a provision in this bill to ensure that there are resources available to assist teachers in delivering this instruction. With that, I'll just say to the committee once again, thank you. This is a important topic. Financial education is something that will benefit these children and their families throughout their lives. Other states have seen the value in it. Several school districts have taken the initiative to begin offering it and requiring it on their own in the absence of a state standard. But we do believe that the time has come to guarantee personal finance education for all students in Rhode Island, regardless of their school or their zip code. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Chairman, for your leadership. Thank you, Whip Ackerman, for your leadership and advocacy for personal finance. And thank you to the committee for your consideration.
Well, thank you, General Treasurer. We greatly appreciate your testimony and certainly your perseverance, which I appreciate after being here for a few years. Sometimes we don't complete our objectives immediately, but perseverance is one quality that often pays off. Are there any questions for Treasurer Magaziner or Whip Ackerman?
Chairman, Rep. Alzate?
Yes, Rep. Alzate, please proceed.
Sure. I just have a quick comment. So thank you to Rep. Ackerman and the treasurer for putting this in, as well as you, Chairman, because I know that we've been trying to fight for this for some time. I think this is so important. I'm really big on financial literacy. Financial education is definitely empowerment, and communities like mine, myself included, could have used a lot of this education growing up. I learned all of my finances from my parents, and I think I'm one of the lucky ones because my mom is really good at finances. However, you know, sometimes our communities, we don't have the best knowledge of finances. And that, you know, definitely to what the treasurer was saying, you know, education is power, and it will lead us into less debt, better credit scores, and also, you know, something that we talk a lot about is less student debt. So thank you for fighting for this legislation. It's super important. And so, you know, we will continue to fight until, you know, we're hoping that this is the year. And so thank you so much for the leadership with this legislation.
Thank you, Representative Alzate. Are there any further questions for the sponsor or the General Treasurer? With that, we are going to our witnesses, and we have about a dozen witnesses. We have a dozen witnesses in support. Sounds like someone just got beamed up. We have a dozen witnesses in support, and I'm going to ask all of the witnesses, please limit your testimony to 2 minutes. We'll let you know when you have 15 seconds left. First witness is Andy Andrade from Rhode Island Department of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Again, Andy Andrade from RIDE. We support this legislation and believe that financial literacy is a key component of a student's education. Commissioner Fonte Green believes that financial literacy is a critical component of a student learning, and we're committed to looking at actually formalizing this through the graduation requirements, as we've discussed also with civics. We're looking to open the high school graduation requirements and looking at financial literacy as a component. We'll be speaking with key stakeholders this spring, the treasurer, Rep. Ackerman, and others, to get ideas on how to proceed. And quite frankly, we love the way this legislation, the language in the legislation, as the treasurer says, it's very flexible. It provides for the graduating class of 2024, but it also provides for completion of a class or a project, successful completion of a consumer education assessment, and it also talks about demonstration of proficiency approved by the council. This gives schools the necessary flexibility and gives students several options. So I just want to make sure that the committee realize that we are looking at adding financial literacy as part of a graduation requirement to make it more consistent throughout the state, and we look forward to working with the chairman, Rep. Ackerman, the treasurer, and others to make it a reality.
Thank you, Mr. Andrade. Are there any questions for Mr. Andrade? Thank you. Next witness is Anita Bruno. Welcome, Anita. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Hi, thank you, Chair. My name is Anita Bruno. I am in support of the financial literacy bill. I think if this had been an education system that was utilized in my younger days, I wouldn't be in such a financial mess that I'm in now. I think that the students need financial literacy so they understand the importance of money and understand how to categorize their bills and how to live in life. And I believe that if we have these programs in place for our kids to learn, that would be less on the homeless situation, less on no jobs, everything that they face after they get out of school, that financial literacy would prepare them for life. Thank you.
Wow. Excellent testimony. Are there any questions for Anita? Thank you very much for your testimony, Anita. Our next witness is well known to most of us on this committee, Charles Kelly, the CY Executive Director of the Rhode Island Student Loan Authority. Mr. Kelly, welcome. Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to speak in support of H 5491. First of all, I'd like to commend the sponsors of this bill and the General Treasurer for his continued support of financial literacy for all Rhode Islanders. As Director of the Rhode Island Student Loan Authority and the College Planning Centers of Rhode Island, we've been a big advocate of financial literacy for many years. I was past chairman of Jumpstart here in the state, and RISLA for close to 20 years has been providing financial literacy to high school students and college students, and we have seen firsthand the lack in many cases of their basic knowledge of financial literacy. And we believe that our efforts and efforts like being proposed in this bill will continue to help Rhode Islanders avoid overborrowing of their student loans. RISLA has one of the lowest default rates in the country, the net default rate of less than 2%. And we attribute at least some of that to the efforts we make in counseling people to borrow only what they really need. My support for financial literacy goes the gamut of teaching with my late wife at pre-Cana classes at our church, financial literacy, and also providing through RISLA our Knowledge for College Scholarship program. So trying to encourage and incentivize people to learn more about financial literacy every day. And as I believe it was Representative Alzate said, that this should help reduce
about 15 more
student loan
seconds.
borrowing.
15 more seconds.
So we are there to help and support all of your efforts in providing financial literacy for all Rhode Islanders. Thank you very much for your time.
Are there any questions for Mr. Kelly? Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly. Dr. Margaret Brooks, Economic Education. Dr. Brooks, welcome. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. As the president of two very active and successful financial literacy nonprofits in Rhode Island Jumpstart Coalition and Rhode Island Council, I'm testifying to express my strong support for this financial literacy bill. I believe financial literacy is critically important for every Rhode Islander, especially in today's uncertain economy. Financial literacy not only helps build individual financial security, but also helps to build a stronger and more resilient Rhode Island economy. It's time now for Rhode Island to join 37 other states in guaranteeing student access to financial education in their schools by passing this legislation. Most high schools already offer courses that include personal finance, but not all students have access to these important lessons. This bill will ensure that all students receive the instruction in personal finance in their curriculum. I do want to let you know that Rhode Island Jumpstart and Rhode Island Council have offered multiple teacher trainings every year since 2014, including conferences, workshops, and webinars. We regularly partner with Fidelity Investments, Next Gen Personal Finance, Council for Economic Education, and others to offer free professional development opportunities for Rhode Island teachers. Our training programs are always well attended. Over the years, more than 1,400 educators have participated. In addition, we also share ongoing top quality free financial literacy curriculum that teachers can use in their classrooms. So we look forward to continuing to providing this free financial literacy training and access to curriculum for Rhode Island educators in the years to come. And as a final point, please note that Rhode Island is now at the forefront of financial literacy. Rhode Island Jumpstart has just been recognized as the 2020-2021 State Coalition of the Year for our efforts to advance financial literacy across our state and region. The passage of
15 more seconds.
legislation now will help us to highlight our state's leadership. All state students deserve access to financial knowledge and skills. I urge the committee to vote yes on House Act 5491, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Brooks. Are there any questions for Dr. Brooks? Seeing none, next witness is Jack Gewich, East Greenwich High School. Welcome. Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Jack Geswich. I'm a senior at East Greenwich High School, and I'm testifying on behalf of myself. So, first I want to thank you for considering this bill, and just my experience with personal finance has been nothing short of phenomenal. Taking a personal finance class at my high school, I was able to take the class as a sophomore, and it totally changed my outlook on a lot of things in my life. And it's given me the skills to proceed as a student and soon-to-be adult in an everly increasingly complex world. So right now I'm considering where to go to college, how to pay for it, and the personal finance class that I took as a sophomore has been integral to that process in allowing me to consider my options, how to pay for it, look at how to consider things like the different interest rates on loans, how to map out the total price of college over 4 years. And I just believe that this bill will allow, it'll be the first step in getting all Rhode Island students access to personal finance, and I just believe it's something that our youth needs to be successful in the 21st century. There's financial literacy it's the toolkit to operate in our modern society. Whether
15 seconds.
Whether you're transacting on the App Store or you're looking to pay for college. So I really do appreciate you considering this bill, and I really hope you pass it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Are there any questions for this witness? Very good. And could the record reflect that Representative Donovan is here? Representative Donovan, we voted on the 2 bills. Do you want to be in the affirmative on that? Without objection, and the vote to hold for further study without objection. Thank you, Representative Donovan. Leela Somvanchi.
Thank you, Chairman.
Please proceed.
I am a junior student at East Greenwich High School and the chapter treasurer of Future Business Leaders of America, or abbreviated FBLA. As a freshman, I was introduced to the extremely relevant world of financial literacy. I have benefited from access to state and national programming related to personal finance through Future Business Leaders of America, the National Consumer League's Life Smarts competition, and the National Personal Finance Challenge. I have also had the distinct privilege of working with Dr. Patricia Page, who has demonstrated unparalleled dedication to financial literacy. I am currently participating in the Young Entrepreneurs of Providence program, where my cohort, which includes students from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds, identified financial illiteracy as a salient problem across Rhode Island communities. We are currently prototyping a program designed to combat the issue. It is in my best interest for every Rhode Island student to also have the same opportunities regarding financial education, especially in the economic climate we find ourselves in today, crippled by COVID-19. My own peers, whom I've interviewed, live in uncertainty and a strong desire to be more financially knowledgeable. The mere prospect of this legislation largely inspired my venture in the Young Entrepreneurs of Providence program. In tandem with the numerous benefits our students would reap, this legislation, if capable of evolving, if comprehensible by the public, would undoubtedly inspire other initiatives resulting in the betterment of Rhode Island and a more financially literate community. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for this witness? Thank you very much. Matthew Takakan, East Greenwich High School. Welcome, Matthew. Please proceed.
Hello, everybody. I hope you had a chance to enjoy the wonderful weather we had this morning. My name is Matthew Takakan, and I graduated East Greenwich High School this last June. Currently, I'm a student on a gap year, but I'm also a realtor, a tutor, and a freelance graphic designer. Today, I speak before you with the intent to testify in favor of House Bill 5491. And I really, truly do think that this bill is essential if we hope to provide financial freedom for tomorrow's teachers, doctors, Uber drivers, Amazon mail carriers, and everyone else who missed out on financial literacy courses they could not fit into their schedule. As of December 2020, it was reported by CNBC that 64% of millennials are living paycheck to paycheck, and 26% do not have stable income. These statistics for the previous generation bears really bad news for Gen Z, and if we follow the rhyme of history, I think it would be very likely that your children, or the children who go to school with your child, will find themselves one day with financial choices they don't have the answers to. How much money should I have saved? Why did my credit score go down? Or contributing to an IRA now earns you how much when you retire? Before taking financial literacy classes at the high school, I really wanted to be a doctor. My mind, my soul, and my parents' bank account was set on me going to medical school. However, after seeing the way you can plan with money in Mrs. Gage's financial literacy class, how you can invest it, you can make sure that later in life you'll have the resources to take care of yourself, and after seeing that when it comes to earning money, there is no one path to success, I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur. The benefits of personal finance and financial literacy to me is not just financial freedom for the individual, but also the chance for smart people to build things. Greater financial literacy, in my eyes, can offer a new path to many and help grow our economy more than if someone like me were just to become another doctor or lawyer or banker in Boston, San Francisco, or New York. Using just the past year as an example, I have been fortunate enough to start a tutoring business right in my very town of East Greenwich. And I know that with more people following an entrepreneurial path, Rhode Island and the United States can not only see a massive revitalization, but an immense economic growth. So I thank you all today for the chance to speak in support of this bill.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions for this witness? Seeing none, next witness is Penelope Diana Tejada. Welcome. Please proceed.
Hi, how are you, Chairman? My name is Penelope Tejada, and I am a junior from North Kingstown High School. In my experience with the financial literacy program at my school, I've had the opportunity to gain critical skill and the ability to authentically apply that skill given dedicated teachers that have increased my confidence in financial preparedness as I prepare for college, career, and life. My peers and I share the same belief that the key to our future success as independent earners is for every high school student in the state of Rhode Island to have access to the same educational opportunities for financial literacy. House Bill 5491 is a promise for the future, and over the past several years, I've had the pleasure of knowing some of the people involved with the Rhode Island Jumpstart Coalition, including Ms. Tavano and Mr. Garland. In North Kingstown High School's required democracy class, students are required to participate in a final presentation that demonstrates the means for effecting change as an active and engaged citizen in society. In recent years, reflected in their project presentations, there has been a trend where students consistently express the need for personal finance to be taught prior to graduating. Leaving high school unprepared for the real world, financially enabled, is a daunting fear that many students have. I'm extremely grateful to have had the opportunity to take personal finance early in my academic career. I'm confident that I am better equipped to achieve independence without a dependence on debt I cannot manage. The topic areas listed are the right topics for students to learn prior to entering the real world. Money touches everything, and at the young age of 18, students are left to make decisions from graduation to retirement. These two tasks and all that are in between, like buying your first house, getting married, and having children, will be directly impacted by students' financial knowledge and money management skills. I am thankful to receive exceptional teaching and am in support of each personal finance and consumer economic topic of study listed in this bill. In the same way that Rhode Island, among many other states, requires new drivers to complete driver's education before going out onto the road, we too should require
15 seconds.
We too should require students to be financially literate before they enter adulthood. I join my peer students in advance appreciation for the opportunities and benefits this legislation will provide. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Tejada. Any questions for Ms. Tejada? Hearing none. I would like at this time, Representative Ranglin Vassal has joined us. Representative Ranglin Vassal, would you like to be recorded in the affirmative with the two bills that we considered today and the vote to hold for further study?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and that would be yes.
So without objection, Representative Ranglin Vassal in the affirmative for the two votes and to hold for further study. Thank you, Representative. Sujari Siet. Surah. Welcome, please proceed.
Hello?
Yes, welcome, please proceed. You have 2
I'm
minutes.
on, sorry, yeah. All right, good afternoon, Chairman McNamara and distinguished members of the House Committee on Education. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to support the House Bill 5491, and I'm here on behalf of the North Kingstown School District. My name is Rich Garland. I'm a teacher at North Kingston High School for the past 10 years in the areas of personal finance, international business, and microeconomics. I'm also the state of Rhode Island's financial educator for the year of 2017. Prior to teaching, I have 34 years in the private sector where I was executive responsible for a major service provider responsible for the competency of strategy for business and technology practitioners worldwide. Let me first comment on the bill and the importance of the bill as an educator. At the high school here at North Kingstown, on average, we offer roughly 400 to 500 students per year access to personal financial education, the majority which is certified via the Treasurer's Financial Scholars Program. We continue to grow that offering, adding more teachers to the mix, given the recognition by both parents and students on the importance of financial literacy. And last year, prior to the pandemic, along with the district committee from North Kingstown, it was approved that our goal will be to make it a required course or set of courses in 2024, in line with the objectives stated by the bill that we're hoping will pass. So I offer this example as a broke to emphasize the point that passing of the bills in question are also being driven by demand by the public we serve. Now I'm going to put my industry hat on, and I'm just going to close with this. And as a former manager, I would prefer to have employees focused on the customer and not whether they can make the next mortgage, next rent payment, next credit card bill when minimum payments pile up, or whether they can eventually retire comfortably. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to support such an important bill on behalf of the future of our leaders, young leaders across Rhode Island. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. Are there any questions for this witness? Seeing none, we move on to Surai Siet. Welcome, please proceed.
Hi, my name is Suraj Seth, and I'm a recent graduate of East Greenwich High School. So today I'm submitting this testimony in favor of House Bill 5491 and also Senate Bill 349 that's coinciding with this. In my eyes, these bills are a necessary step for granting financial education to all Rhode Island public high school students. I think that Rhode Island high school students are one of the most vulnerable demographics to these financial mistakes. And so they need a bill that really provides them with financial literacy. And this course that is proposed in the bill is the way to go to help them avoid dangerous financial situations and to promote healthy financial habits. So a little bit about why I'm so passionate about this bill. Before I took a financial course my junior year, a personal finance course that was taught by Dr. Page, I was completely unaware of what these good financial habits were. None of my friends talked about it, even if they worked jobs in the summer and on weekends. And everyone knows it's not proper etiquette to ask how someone makes. You can't ask about the savings or different things like that. And so I began to feel like personal finance was a black box or almost taboo. And that's why I took this course, right? It gave me a lot of opportunities to speak with other students about their personal finance and how they manage their money. This opportunity for discourse gave me a lot of learnings about how to pay myself first, to budget my expenses, and to even keep an emergency fund that covers 3 to 6 months of expenses. I think that these habits, these learnings, they're going to be really valuable to Rhode Island high school students, especially given the savings crisis and savings loans crisis, and all of the different types of debt that are arising in the United States today. I know that a lot of people in the United States, almost 67% really, don't have a proper emergency fund. And I know that 78% of adults live paycheck to paycheck. These statistics break my heart. And if we apply
15
them to
seconds.
that level, where there's around a population of 1.1 million, we can see that there's an immediate need for personal finance in our high schools, where students have the best opportunity to save themselves. And so I think that this bill can help improve these statistics, both in Rhode Island and nationwide, and I strongly support them in favor of being passed.
Okay, that's our time.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Suzanne Greenlynch. Welcome. Please proceed. 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Try not to repeat anything that's been said, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Susan Greenalch. I'm an accredited financial counselor and coach. I really appreciate this bill coming forward. I'm a president of Mind Your Money LLC in Rhode Island, providing financial coaching, counseling, workshops, and training for individuals, businesses, and nonprofits. The main point I want to make today is this. The societal and personal impact of being without the skills, education, and resources to make financially sound decisions for yourself and your family is staggering. We have all seen the lines of cars with people needing food. Since the pandemic, nearly 25% of all Americans have no emergency funds. The results of a recent survey in CNBC find that financial stress is the #1 cause of stress, 73%, above even politics, work, and family. Only 16% of respondents reported being very familiar with how to improve their credit score, but more than half of the respondents, is very encouraging stat here, are interested, 59% are interested in learning more. I work with youth and adults in my practice, and it's no surprise that they have an overall lack of knowledge and a lack of confidence. Almost all report no training from their parents or at school. I have clients that are CPAs and Ivy League school graduates who have had no financial education. It can be debilitating. My family never talked about money, and I had no training, even as a Bryant University accounting graduate. Until I was
15
certified
seconds.
as an accredited financial counselor, did I understand more about how emotions and shame around money and the lack of financial education and confidence holds people back. We'll never know the impact, but financial empowerment is a social justice issue for all.
That's
and
the
it
time.
starts with
Thank you. Are there any questions for this witness? Thank you very much. Last witness is Yanli Espinel. Welcome, Yanli. Please proceed.
Yes.
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Yaneli Espinal, educator at a financial organization called Next Gen Personal Finance. We are a nonprofit that offers free curriculum, teacher training, and financial education as well. And we serve over 45,000 educators across the country, including 300 teachers in Rhode Island. I am born and bred of New York City, but Rhode Island is my second home. I spent 4 of the most transformative years of my life at Brown University, and even though Rhode Island is the smallest state in the country by land, it's currently top 6 on the list of states with the highest average student loan debt per borrower, and that number is $36,962. So at the impressionable age of 18, students can sign legal documents like student loan agreements, auto loans, credit cards, which have long-lasting implications in their lives. You know, I got my first student credit card on Thayer Street in Providence when I was 18 years old, and by 22, I had racked up $20,000 of high interest rate credit card debt across 4 different cards. Some of that money went to buying textbooks and school supplies, but most of it went to unnecessary spending because I didn't have anybody in my life, a parent, a mentor, a teacher, to guide me in understanding the implications of those choices. Today, teens have it even worse with constant ads on social media tempting them to spend money unnecessarily. Now, I don't know each of your lives, but I urge you to think about all the financial choices you have made in your life so far and how powerful this personal finance class could have been in helping you avoid some of those money mistakes that you've made. I hope my testimony makes it clear that there's urgency around this issue in the state of Rhode Island, where 79% of students do have access to personal finance electives, but what about the other 21%? Decades of research shows that comprehensive financial education leads to
15
graduates
seconds.
making better financial choices. They have higher savings rates, more assets, better credit scores, less debt, and they choose lower rates when they do need to borrow. So why would you vote to withhold this incredibly important education from thousands of young Rhode Islanders? I urge you to vote yes on 5491. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness? Thank you. That concludes the hearing on 5491. The next bill we're going to hear is 5605. Representative Chippendale, welcome and please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. And colleagues, the bill that you have before you today was put in, as you can tell by the submission date, right at the deadline. And it's important to note that because there will be some changes that are necessary as this bill moves forward. And you'll hear some of the reasons why as we go through the testimony. The reason why I introduced this bill was a constituent had reached out to me and had explained the story of their child attempting to take advantage of the Rhode Island Promise Scholarship Program at CCRI. And because their child was disabled, there were some roadblocks for that child that would have made it impossible for them to take advantage of the program. And when I learned about this and did some research and reached out to some folks in not just in government and education, but also others in the disabled community, it became evident to me that our statute lacked any specific protections that are afforded to disabled Americans under the ADA, or the Americans with Disabilities Act. So this bill that you have in front of you is essentially the four corners of the initiative. And what it does very simply is it adds that students with disabilities shall be allowed to attend the school as if any other child. And then we have the definition section, which talks about the ADA, what a disabled student is, and what reasonable accommodations are. And then there's a section that was put in there to preserve the ability for children to attend this fall in the hopes that this bill passes. The ACLU has issues with that last section, and I am happy to say that I agree with their issues, and I'm pleased that the testimony they provide later will elaborate on those. So what were these roadblocks that we found? Well, certain disabilities do not allow a student to maintain a full course load as is required by the statute. There's also another requirement that you had to graduate prior to the age of 19 from high school in order to take advantage of the Promise Scholarship. Certainly, a student with disabilities may not be able to maintain a full course load. So it's reasonable to accommodate that student's disability. As far as the age of 19, obviously a student with disabilities may need some remedial care in their earlier years that sets them back 2 or 3 years in their schooling. And if they're set back 2 or 3 years in their schooling, obviously they're not going to be 19 when they graduate. So we added the language into this bill regarding the Americans with Disabilities Act, which simply stipulates that post-secondary institutions are responsible for providing necessary accommodations when a student discloses a disability. And the U.S. Department of Education in 2007 elaborated on what reasonable accommodations are. And they are modifications or adjustments to the tasks, environment, or to the way things are usually done that enable individuals with disabilities to have an equal opportunity to participate in an academic program. Broad categories of accommodations include changes to the application process to ensure an equal opportunity to apply for program enrollment, changes that enable a student with a disability to perform the essential functions of the academic program, and changes that enable a student with a disability to enjoy equal benefits and privileges of that program. We also have the 1973 Rehabilitation Act, Section 504 in the bill, which states quite simply, it requires an institution to be prepared to make reasonable academic adjustments and accommodations to allow students with disabilities a full participation in the same programs and activities available to students without disabilities. So after speaking with a lot of families about this exact issue, I reached out, of course, to our state's expert, Bob Cooper, the Executive Secretary of the Governor's Commission on Disabilities. And although Bob's unable to attend today's hearing, the chair of that commission, Rosemary Cormody, will be phoning in or getting phoned, and has also offered testimony. And Bob was extremely helpful in crafting language that would replace the language in the legislation you have before you. I also met with our very new Commissioner of Post-Secondary Education, Dr. Shannon Gilkey, and we had a fantastic conversation. He supports the initiative, and he does want to codify this into the existing law, into the existing statute. You should also have a letter from the Rhode Island College Dean of Students Disability Services Center, Ms. Kerry Ross Detremont, who supports it and also provided a letter of support. During the time of me drafting this legislation and trying to get it in urgently before the deadline, the ACLU reached out to me. Stephen Brown, our friend who we see in the State House frequently, or we used to regularly, and we will again, hopefully one day, reached out to me because they had an ongoing issue on this exact problem. And I'm happy to say that you should have in your packet a letter from the ACLU, and they take exception with the last part of my bill, which was put in there to preserve this opportunity for the cohort of students graduating this year. And based on the ACLU's interaction with the college, they feel that we don't want to just hold the line there. They actually want students to be able to go further back than that, but they can explain that a little bit better than I. We also had we have a signature, a petition. Last time I looked at it, it had over 500 signatures. Now, I want to say this. There's the DSS coordinator at CCRI, Ms. Allison Robinson, has been working with families with students with disabilities extremely hard to accommodate and to work with them to help them take advantage of this. And she really has been going above and beyond to try to make this possible for every student. The college itself has stated that they are working on changing the policy of the college to respect and, frankly, to comply with the federal ADA requirements. However, while I'm pleased and happy that they are doing that, policies are very much like ties or socks. They can be changed. It's very easy to change a policy. A new president, a new academic leader at the school, a new governor, I didn't mean to say president. They can change a policy. So we feel this needs to be enshrined and codified into the Rhode Island Promise Scholarship statute. In working on this bill, I've worked with a lot of advocates, including Heather Kennedy, the founder of Rhode Island Disability Community Resources, and the Northeast Special Education Chair, who you'll hear from. Suzanne Arena, who runs Decoding Dyslexia, the Rhode Island Parent-Teacher Information Network, the Rhode Island PTA, Rhode Island Advocacy for Children, so many other groups as well. And due to the accommodations we have to make for COVID, this hearing is being held at a time that regrettably does not allow many of the people who sent in written testimony, and also many of the parents and students who are hoping to testify. It does not allow them.
We have plenty of students that have signed up, Representative Chippendale. We have plenty of people signed up. So if you could.
I understand, and I'm wrapping up. I'm just hopeful that they are able to answer the call as they are at work. Some of the adults. So the thrust of this initiative will be fleshed out and will address all of the concerns of the various stakeholders who have expressed support for this. And frankly, I haven't had anyone express opposition to it. So I'll close with that because there are people who will be testifying and offering their perspective. And of course, I am more than happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Representative Chippendale? Seeing none, thank you, Representative Chippendale.
Thank you.
We have no opposition to this. I'm going to ask everyone to try to respect the time. I realize Heather Kennedy is calling in as an expert witness. So we'll go with Heather Kennedy first, and if she could just briefly. Heather, please proceed.
Hi, greetings, committee members. My name is Heather Kennedy, and I want to thank you for listening to me today. This is an important bill that impacts my child and so many others. I want to take a few moments to tell you my story and why this bill is before you. I'm a parent of a high school senior who will be attending CCR next fall. My daughter, Brianna, is a student with disabilities who has an IEP. She has had a rough few years. She has experienced her father's death, significant medical challenges, universal setbacks from COVID-19. But despite all this, she wants to succeed, and we know she can. And the best way to do this is to build her confidence by setting her up for success. And after much discussion with her and her team, we concluded that the best path for her was to start her time at school with 2 classes each semester. We want to see how she handles the transition to a new environment with significantly reduced educational support before considering increasing her course load in the future. We're also a low-income family that needs help with the cost of school, and I was really excited about this scholarship. When applying, though, I learned that the Promise Scholarship requires full-time status and or a reduced approved course load of 3/4 time, with the expectation that college is completed in 2 years. When I reached out to CCRI to ask for a schedule accommodation, they told me that there was none for a reduced course load, and if she could not meet the expectation, she would have to pay to school. What I heard was because my daughter has a disability and needs more time, she has to pay for school while her typical peers do not. I question this rule, its fairness, and legality. Because of this injustice, I reached out to so many other parents and learned that some students have been dropped from this program or avoided school because of timeline requirements.
15 seconds, please.
I apologize. I thought I had more time.
Yeah, we have quite a few. If you could wrap up, we'll give you another 30 seconds or so. We have quite a few witnesses. If you could just please wrap your testimony up. Thank you, Heather.
I missed out some key parts. All right. Basically, the policy is not enough. It can change at any time. In my communication with the school, they were unable to acknowledge if the age requirement of 19 would change, and if those who've been dropped from the program would be reinstated. I have spoke to many parents about the situation, and hopefully they'll be able to talk today, but I know some of them, because of schedules, might not be able to take the call. On behalf of persons with disabilities, my daughter and I ask that you as leaders consider the message your actions will have on an entire community of teenagers and young adults with disabilities. Will you tell them that their goals and dreams are not important because they may need more time to achieve them? Please consider passing this bill and allowing accommodation of a flexible schedule and increasing the age from 19 to 1 year with a graduate in high school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Any questions for Ms. Kennedy? Next, we have Rory. Is it Rosemary on the comedy? Governor's Commission on Disabilities. Please welcome. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Rosemary Carmody. I'm the chair of the Governor's Commission on Disability, and just wanted to take time to thank the sponsors of this legislation, including my own representative, Mr. Nardone. It's an important piece of legislation that really promotes equality for students with disabilities to be able to receive a free and appropriate education, public education. And we're already seeing the benefits of this. Citizens Bank has a very aggressive Autism at Work program where they're recruiting students with disabilities, but they need to have the added education of a CCRI or somewhere else to get the associate's degree to move ahead. It is simply an opportunity for people to get what they need in order to move ahead and to be more self-sufficient and independent. So again, the Governor Commission fully supports this legislation and thanks you for the opportunity to offer our support.
Thank you, Ms. Comedy. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, Brenda Walsh. Please proceed. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members, for allowing me to speak in my support for the Rhode Island Promise Bill of 5605 and to advocate for so many that do not have a voice. I do believe that it's imperative that we recognize that many students, both standard and with disabilities, are beginning their freshman years by taking remedial classes.
Brenda?
Hello, I do apologize. I got disconnected or something happened there.
Please proceed. Continue.
I do apologize. But what I was saying is we do realize that many freshmen start off the year taking remedial classes, and these are standard students, whereas children with disabilities come in and they already have taken remedial classes and they're already behind. So what
that's it.
Hello?
Yes, you're on air. Continue.
I do apologize. It's cutting in and out on my end. Recent data shows that standard students are averaging 3 years to complete an associate's degree as opposed to 2 years. So we're showing that standard students are actually coming in at a disadvantage. So students that come in that may actually be graduating at age 19 or 20 cannot even apply for this benefit, and they are actually going to start their college career with a preventable disability.
15 seconds, please. 15 seconds, please.
We lost it. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Walsh. Next witness, Colleen Brophy. Dale Barkley. Welcome, Dale. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
I'm the parent of a student with disabilities that also have IEPs. I'm not in the state of Rhode Island, but I know a couple students in the state of Rhode Island that are with similar disabilities. And the rights and the welfares of those in the disability community are my concern. I support the bill because Rhode Island law should protect against discrimination against the marginalized community. Changing your law's language to allow a reduced and flexible course load for students with disabilities seems like a simple fix and a fairly easy thing to do. I hope that you understand how your actions can help impact this community and the message that will send. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Excellent. Next, we have Danielle Nelson. Welcome, Danielle. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
So I really do feel that this bill needs to be more accommodating to people of all abilities and disabilities.
Okay, so do you support it or not support it?
I do support the change of the bill.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a child with special needs, and the way the bill is currently, he would not be able to have the rights that are allotted to all the other kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for this witness? Hearing none. Gabriel.
Mr. Chairman, just quickly, can she expand on that? Exactly what you just alluded to. Can she just
I don't know
expand on
if
that?
she's still with us. She's not with us.
Okay.
Anyway, I have her number. We can call her back.
Reach out to her.
Why don't we go on to Gabriel Brophy Curran?
Gabriel, you have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
All right.
So I think this bill should be passed considering college is supposed to be our future and people with autism and ADHD, etc. are the future. We deserve a place that we can learn our way, yet still get the jobs we want, even if it takes a little longer than others. If college is supposed to be for learning, then why can't we learn our way? And why do the regulations, credits, and schedules have to be so linear? I want to make college for all people, not just the so-called smart/normal ones. For even though, like, I might not be the smartest person, not be the brightest, and be a doctor, I am bright with a shining light and hopefully a shining future. Passing a bill that will help not just me, but all the children with disorders looking to make a future. And, you know, other people might not care about it because they're all set and not suffering from a mental disorder. But if we traded shoes for a moment and put each self into our position, it's pretty scary. And you'd probably pass the bill without a second thought. It's not just about you or one person, it's about everyone, and we make up that everyone forever and always. That's what I have to say.
Excellent, Gabriel. Thank you for your testimony. Gregory Pezza, please. Oh, Danielle. Yes, Representative Biah. Question for Danielle.
Danielle, are you on right now?
Yes, she is.
Can you
Yes, I'm
expand
here.
on can you expand on what you said earlier before where your 2 minutes was over about your child won't be included in this bill? I just wanted for you to expand on that.
So my child has a 504 plan, and he has dyslexia and ADHD, and so he needs extra time to complete daily tasks. And so under the current bill, he wouldn't be able to attend school full-time to receive the benefit.
I think that might be open to interpretation, Danielle.
Yeah?
I'm sure they will work with you on that, but I think that could be open to a different interpretation.
Okay, and that's great, but I still feel it should be changed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Biah. Thank you, Danielle, for coming back. We appreciate that.
No, thank you for having me.
Jennifer Gingras or Gregory Pezza? Welcome, Mr. Pezza. Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Hi. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am in support of this bill as a parent of a special needs child. People get a lot of misconceptions about the learning disability. It's not so much a disability, but a different pathway on how their brains function to learn. And yes, it takes more time, and the standards for the majority of students can learn their processes in the time that's usually allotted. But for special needs like my son, additional time is needed to get to the same point so he could be a productive member of the community. By not doing this, I feel that a lot of the special needs children are going to fall through the cracks and then end up being either a ward of the state or not being able to contribute to the community. So I am in support of this bill to extend the scholarship.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Pezza? Thank you. Jennifer Gingras.
Chairman, before you go to the next...
Yes. Representative Franklin Vassell.
Yeah, before you go to the next witness, I just have a point that I'd like to share.
Yes, please proceed.
I want to thank the sponsor for this bill. It's a great piece of legislation. And I wanted to just share some facts with some of the families who may be listening or some that will come on to testify. I would suggest that right before their student or their child leaves school, and I'm speaking now as a special education teacher, and I do that for my seniors all the time. There's a document that's known as a summary of performance, and we give that to every graduating student. And so the student would then take that document, which compiles the modifications and everything that the student needs, and take it to CCRI or to whichever college you're going. And per federal law, the school has to, the college, I should say, have to really honor those modifications. So it's a document that we compile all of the data. Modification, does the student need extra time? Do they need 2 more days, or whatever they need? And we, the parent or student would take that to the school, and they are mandated to follow those modifications. So make sure parents, when your senior is ready to graduate, ask your special educator for that about 5 pages. It's the IEP compiled, pretty much, and it's known as the summary of performance. So don't leave high school without that. They will need that at the college. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Ranglin Vassal, for helping these parents out with your professional expertise. That's wonderful, and I hope that they follow and students will benefit from that. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Jennifer Gingras. Please proceed, Jennifer. You have 2 minutes.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for taking my call. I'm asking the committee today to please amend the Promise Scholarship to not discriminate against students with disabilities. I have an 18-year-old son who graduated in June of 2020. He's had an IEP his entire 12 years of school. Always has had additional support through his school experience. He went to a smaller charter school, high school, as a local high school has caused too much anxiety. Even with extra support, he still struggled, but ultimately succeeded with decent grades. We decided very late to sign up for CCRI in the fall of last year during the pandemic. Within the first 2 weeks, he decided that we could not handle the classes. It was just too much, and so he dropped out. And then we tried finding out about signing up for this coming fall, and we were in the process of doing that. And during the process, we found out that we inquired about less reduced credits so that he didn't have to take as many courses. And we were told that
You know what?
he
What I'll do is when this
not qualify for the Promise Grant to complete.
All right.
So, I'm sorry, are you talking to me or?
Yes. Okay.
So, are you
Sorry.
talking to me?
No, no,
or?
no. Sorry. Please proceed.
Okay. So, my son gets very overwhelmed very easily. He needs to have access to supports and extra time for work, so he cannot.
Excuse me, 15
handle-
seconds. 15 seconds, please.
Okay. Well, he needs to be able to have extra time, and it will take him longer than the 2 years to be able to accomplish being able to get his associate's degree. And I don't find that it's fair that the Promise Grant won't be allowed him to take that extra time to be able to proceed. So and it took me 25 years to pay for my associate's degree myself. I just made my last payment this past February, and again, it took me 25 years. I don't want that burden on my son
5 seconds.
to be able to have to take that time. So thank you for listening, and I really do hope that the law changes this with disabilities.
Thank you for your testimony. Lynn Beauvoir Capsgas. Lynn, please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee. My name is Lynn Kapiskas. I have an adult son, Mark, with multiple disabilities, who graduated from Woonsocket High School with high honors in the infamous class of 2020. My son presently attends CCRI as a freshman pursuant to Rhode Island Promise, with the ultimate plan to pursue a bachelor's degree in engineering at URI. After consulting with CCRI's DSS office upon registering Mark in the fall, we were advised to reduce his course load from full-time to as few as 3 courses per semester as an accommodation while remaining eligible for Rhode Island Promise. Eventually, Mark decided to register for 5 courses in the fall. Within a week, we knew we could not do it, and he dropped to 4. It's repeated in the spring. I'd like to add that he passed all 8 of those classes with a GPA of 3.65, lowest grade being B+. When we met with the DSS advisor, she made it clear to both of us that while his disabilities under Rhode Island Promise allowed him to reduce his course load, she made sure to make us aware that Mark had to take advantage of the accommodation. Mark would be unable to complete the course load for his associate's degree within the 4 semesters permitted under the statute, and that we would have to pay for any additional semesters. Freely admit it didn't click in my brain that this was unfair for students with disabilities. However, I now see the problem. Under Rhode Island Promise is drafted, my son, intelligent but challenged, has 2 choices. Take 2 to 3 courses per semester, making him unable to earn his credits to be awarded to his associate's degree in the 4 semesters, or he can take 5 classes, set himself up for failure due to his multiple disabilities, wasting both his time and the taxpayers' money when he inevitably drops out.
15 seconds. 15 seconds, please.
Thank you. That does not sound like a good plan. All we ask is that my son be treated the same as every other graduating senior in Rhode Island and have the same opportunity to obtain his associate's degree through the Rhode Island Promise program. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chairman,
yes.
just before she gets off, Lynn, I've known Lynn for 30 years.
Oh, okay.
I just want to thank you, Lynn. This is Bob Phillips.
Hi, Mr. Phillips. How are you?
Good. I just want to thank you for your expertise in this field. Lynn has been involved with students and as an involved parent and as a champion for students with disabilities for many, many years. She's been so involved that she decided to be an elected school committee person for our community.
Oh,
and
that's
she's
wonderful.
now currently serving as that position and making a difference with the students with disabilities. So,
wonderful.
Lynn, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
Thank you for your service, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next, Maureen. Welcome, Maureen. Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
What would you like me to say?
Say that you support the bill if you do, and you'd like to see us vote on it for passage.
I apologize. I wasn't sure what she was having me do.
No.
I support the bill, and I would like you to vote on it.
Thank you. You are the best witness of the entire evening. Thank you for your brevity. Very good. Are there any questions
All right.
for Maureen? Next, we have Monica McNeil. Welcome. Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear me out. I am in support of the Bill 5605, the Rhode Island Scholarship Program bill. I'm in support of that bill. As a mother of 2 children, both born with disabilities, I know how important it is for this bill to come to pass. My daughter, who is currently a 7th grader, will one day face the same situation and would like to apply for college. And I, as a mom, would want her to be included and protected under the law. My daughter, who is currently on an IEP and has proven that this set of resources has helped her to be successful in her education. I can't imagine if the accommodations were taken away or she was not allowed to be given more time to become successful. Plus, I would think that any program in which receives federal funding must be in compliance of all of its recipients and include inclusiveness to all people. Given the fact that our children struggle every day with their disabilities, but still manage to get up every day and go to school and work hard at their achievements, not passing this bill would only hinder them to become successful. It is our responsibility and it is our duty for humility and for all people to make sure that this bill is passed. And I really hope that this will come to pass. I thank you for your time, and I speak for and hope you understand that your actions will have such a large impact on such a large marginal group of people. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you for your testimony. Next witness is Nicole Dempsey.
Or for a minute, okay.
Nicole, welcome. Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Hi. Thank you, committee members, for considering this important bill to make the Promise Scholarship accessible to students with disabilities. I am in full support of changing this bill to allow flexible schedules and reduced course loads for students who need extra time to achieve their degree and work towards their dreams. The law already allows an exception for military and those who have a major medical incident. It seems only fair and right to make an additional exception for those who really need it, and allowing this accommodation reflects federal ADA law. We cannot depend on the policy to do the right thing. We need the law to protect people with disabilities. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen.
Thank you. Are there any questions for this witness? Thank you for your testimony. Patricia Angelinas? Robert Marshall. Mr. Marshall, welcome. You have 2 minutes. There's no opposition to this bill. Please proceed.
Yeah, I'll be very quick. And we submitted my name is Bob Marshall. I'm here to testify on behalf of the Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council. We have submitted written testimony and talked with the sponsor about some changes that as he said, need to be made. But I just want, and you've heard from enough parents and students of the need for this. So I just want to stress that this can't be fixed through policy. I learned yesterday while waiting to testify in House Finance that CCRI has in the past 2 weeks made 2 policy changes to address this issue. That fact in itself says that this has to be put into the law. You can't keep changing these things around. Luckily, these changes were positive to address some of what you just heard, but they could also go in the other direction just as quickly, and then we got to work it all out again. In the meantime, lots of students get left by the wayside. So I think you need to give good consideration to putting this into the law, and I will stop there.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Any questions for Mr. Marshall? Thank you very much. Next, Stephen Brown. Mr. Brown, welcome. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Stephen Brown on behalf of the ACLU of Rhode Island. With the amendment that Representative Chippendale referenced, I want to express our organization's strong support for this legislation. We believe it is simply codifying what federal and state anti-discrimination laws already require in terms of accommodating students with disabilities. What you've heard is that college officials were treating the Promise program as applying for only 2 years, so students with disabilities who needed extra time were being forced to pay for that 3rd or additional year of education. After we received a complaint from a family about this, we contacted CCRI officials, and to their credit, they quickly acknowledged the problem. They reimbursed the tuition to the family who had contacted us. They have changed their manual and guidelines to address the issue. We just think it would be appropriate and helpful to codify this change into law so everybody is clear that they do have these rights to be accommodated. So with that, we hope you'll pass the bill out, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Brown, have you sent us a written copy of that amendment suggestion?
No, I have not.
Okay. You have not?
Not specific language. My written testimony explains the amendment,
Oh, okay.
but I did not give written language.
So we're all set. We just thank you. Any questions for Mr. Brown? Next, last witness is Suzanne Arena, and all of the written testimonies will be available on our website from this. Suzanne, welcome. You have
Thank
two
you.
minutes. You're the last witness, and stay on the line, please.
Great, thank you. So I'm calling on behalf of Decoding Dyslexia Rhode Island and as a parent of a son who's presently a freshman going to CCRI. I wanted to set the record straight, first of all, that if you take 3 classes at CCRI or less, if you take less than 3 classes, you are going to be refused, and that is in writing. Also, CCRI came out with a reporting data that 3 years, and I'm hearing a lot of talking. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time. Can you hear me?
Yes. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, please.
Okay. So CCRI is reporting data they just came out with about a month and a half ago saying 3 years is taking most students to graduate and get their degree. Those are gen ed kids. Those are not specific to kids that have disabilities. They're suggesting 2.5 years in order for them to get that. We're saying it should be 3, first of all, for all. And then kids that have a disability, if it takes half the time to do it during the day, it's going to take twice as long, so that would be 6 years. The Speaker of the House has already shared that he researched this and he feels CCRI will do the right changes. Well, it has to be done in the law. Representative Chippendale has already told you the why, and it is not adequate. ACLU has already spoken up that this is an issue. And I can tell you, if we're not in compliance with the federal law, it is, and that's incomprehensible to me, why these simple changes weren't embraced and changed in the beginning. We don't want lawsuits. We don't want them against the colleges or our states. And in conclusion, once you know you are obligated to codify and protect the civil rights of children with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne, could you please stay on for a minute?
Sure.
The testimony for this, the written testimony, will be placed online on our website for 5605. That concludes this legislation.
Mr. Chairman, it's Rep. Chippendale, if I may.
Very briefly, Rep. Chippendale.
Absolutely, very briefly. There were 5 people who did sign up to testify via phone who were not called. I know it's not possible for you to call them now, but they have texted me and they had their calls confirmed by the committee. So I'm sure it was just a glitch or an oversight, but I did want that to be noted.
Okay. All right, we tried to contact them. We have numbers here of everyone that we called. While we're waiting to see if we missed anyone, House Bill 6149 with Representative Place did we call him?
Chairman, he stepped out. He said if you just want to read it,
okay.
He's good.
So House Bill 6149, Representative Place is asked that it's an act relating to educational savings accounts. This act would establish an educational savings account program and assist and support parents, guardians, caretakers, and students in any school district with the materials, tutors, technology, educational support for learning at home and any other remote learning site. Sounds like an interesting concept. There are no witnesses on that, and that will conclude the hearing on 6149. The next bill that we're going to hear is by Representative Quattrochi, an act relating to education, a dyslexia school for Rhode Island, and we have Suzanne Arena online now from Decoding Dyslexia. Is Representative Quattrochi available? No? Okay, Suzanne? Okay. Yes, please. Yeah. Okay. Let the record reflect that we had 5 people, the numbers that we called, there was no answer at those numbers. We have just double-checked that. Thank you. Unless there's a problem, yeah. Hi, welcome Suzanne Arena, Decoding Dyslexia. This is on 5839. Suzanne, please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Decoding Dyslexia is very happy to see this before us. A dyslexia school, we have made this push a couple of years ago. It wasn't the right time. We acknowledge that there is a need and the timing seems to be right now. We recognize the alarm with so many districts who are not able to meet the needs, and although the Right to Read Act was passed, it's going to take the Rhode Island Department of Ed many years in order to get teachers aligned and switch the type of methods for appropriate education for all children. We'd like to see the language in the bill that states the charter would look only to RIDE to have additional language that would add alternative learning consultation with qualified experts such as Decoding Dyslexia, who have comorbid diagnosis, and the National Autism Association, or Sue Constable, who has also worked. So there are, you can't just look to RIDE, because if RIDE had been doing it right, we wouldn't be here asking for a charter school. And I think that, thank Representative Quattrochi and the other people who have pushed for this. We are fully in support of this.
Thank you, Suzanne. Are there any questions for Suzanne? Next, Joseph Magiacomo. we have contacted someone from the previous bill. Welcome, please proceed. What's going into the dialing for dollars mode? 3 from the top.
I'm not surprised you remember that show, Jim.
It's not exactly a sign of a high-quality childhood. Yeah, we were glad when we got the TV. Can we go on to... Okay, there may be a problem with the phone. Could we go to Joseph Magiacomo, please? Mr. Magiacomo?
Chairman.
Welcome, Mr. Magiacomo. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm not going to bore you with the statistics. Those have been well spoken of over the last 3 years. Mr. Chairman, the bill before you today is not a novel bill in and of itself. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I hear you. Please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman?
You need to turn off your computer sound. We're getting feedback.
It is, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to bore you with the statistics for dyslexia, prison populations, juvenile incarceration. We've been going over those for 3 years. In and of itself, this bill is not a novel bill. You all have the ability to read, so I'm going to leave it at that. I will tell you the history, though, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. This bill is basically a draft from South Carolina, which is doing it correctly. South Carolina has 3 charter schools that are public right now. Arkansas has 1. Florida has about 15 schools that are charter and quasi-governmental. What this bill does is this bill allows for 2 dyslexic schools within the state, something we pushed for 3 years ago.
15 seconds, please.
Thank you. What this bill does, Mr. Chairman, is I'll point out 2 of the things. It allows for the schools, it allows for teachers who are actually educated and versed in the science of reading in Gillingham, but it also has caveats with reference to testing and things of that sort, which we all should know dyslexic children have trouble with. And to have a state-funded charter school and subject the children to this testing yearly would be detrimental to the children in and of itself, Mr. Speaker. Last week, you made a statement with reference to my
5 seconds, please. 5 seconds.
Thank you. You made a statement with reference to my advocating on behalf of these children. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to ask you to join with me with reference to this. With the money that we're getting, there's simply no reason that people should be in the position that I am, where I'm having to send my child out of state and not seeing him.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Magiacomo. Thank you for the promotion, but I think Speaker Sakachi might not agree 100%. So I appreciate your testimony. No, that's all right. Thanks. That concludes the hearing on 5839. The next bill that we're going to hear is by Representative Amore, 6118. Representative Amore.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be very quick. This bill has two main parts to it. The first part is that the contracts that school districts enter into with busing vendors must be for 180 days. We saw this as an issue because of the pandemic, and once you don't have that contract in place, it's very difficult to find drivers after the fact because they're going to go out and look for a new job. The state already does this based on 180 days. We'd like the LEAs to do the same thing. The second piece of this is pops up from time to time in every district, and that is you cannot serve two masters. The vendor has a contract with the school department. The vendor has the personnel rights to do what they may with their personnel if their personnel is in violation of one of their policies or has had a personnel issue. What we see too often happening is the vendor has a system of either reprimand or process or progressive discipline, and then the school department also jumps in and demands that the bus driver be moved from the route. That's become a very difficult situation in a lot of districts. This bill would have that process be in place for the vendor and who they employ. The school department obviously contracts the vendor. Doesn't mean that they can't have conversation, discussion, but you can't have two bites at the personnel apple. And so, in short, that's what this bill does, Mr. Chairman, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Representative Amore? Seeing none, we go to Andy Andrade for RIDE. Welcome, Mr. Andrade. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Andy Andrade from RIDE. As Rep. Amore mentioned, the state does already has 180 days for our bus vendors. And I've talked to Rep. Amore about this. The only question I have, in the bill it talks about all bus vendors participating in the Real Jobs Bus Training Program. I just wanted to let everyone know that the major vendors in Rhode Island, and across the country for that matter, have their own bus driver training program. So I've talked to Rep. Amore. We might need to look at that language to make some changes to that. Other than that, we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrade. Bill, you got that? Next, we have Matthew Talib. Talib. Welcome, Matthew. Please proceed. Matthew?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had to turn off my computer, sorry.
That's okay.
So my name is Matthew Tavey. I'm a Principal Officer of Teamsters Local 251. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the committee, and thanks Rep. Amore and Mr. Chairman for sponsoring the legislation. Speak in support of H6118. Teamsters represents over 1,000 school bus workers in the state of Rhode Island, and this is very important to us. So school transportation, is very necessary and often an afterthought and sometimes taken for granted. And then this bill is a comprehensive approach to vendor bidding and worker standards. As the representative mentioned, an important part is the 180-day school calendar. We've seen with virtual days, professional development days, et cetera, where schools are operating, but the school buses are not, and we've seen some flight within the industry for folks that are highly trained that can seek employment elsewhere. Keep in mind, this calendar also accounts for vacations, school vacations, and the summer where folks are collecting unemployment. So this has an impact on the unemployment system overall. There's another part to this, which is prevailing wage.
15 seconds, please.
Prevailing wage, which would level the playing field for all the vendors and all the schools. Obviously, the issue of discipline by the schools is very important. And another part about the driver training program, this is something to help alleviate expenses that are for the companies and to do a more centralized approach. So we support this bill. I support this bill in representing the Teamsters, and we ask the committee to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. We appreciate it. Next, we have Paul McDonald, also representing Teamsters Local 251. Mr. McDonald, welcome. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for your time today. I will be brief. My name is Paul McDonald. I'm the Legislative Director for Teamsters Local 251 and also President of the Providence Central Labor Council, representing some 60 affiliated unions with over 30,000 members who work in the public and private sectors. Amongst these are the building trade unions, firefighters, hospital workers, office professionals, teachers, transportation workers, and they know and recognize the value and importance of good, safe student transportation. The men and women, drivers and monitors, who drive and deliver our most precious cargo ask for your support of this most important House Bill 6118. I want to thank you for this opportunity to share with you our support for these school bus transportation workers, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. It's always great to hear you. We look forward to in-person testimony so that when the building opens up again, and we appreciate your testimony. Are there any questions for Mr. McDonald? Thank you. That concludes the hearing on 6118. And with that, I would like to thank Vice Chair Amore, Representative Alzate, Nathan Biah, Representative Caldwell, Representative Donovan, Representative Fenton-Fung, Representative Giraldo, Representative Kislak, Representative Noret, Representative Phillips, Representative Ranglin-Vassell, Representative Roberts, and Representative Shulcroft-Smith for your testimony and attention today. And all of the written testimony will be on our website. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned, and we'll move on to the Veterans Auditorium.